Alright, Shalom, giving all praises and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak, Wadaz, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings to the whole elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whomever you may be, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yahshua. Shalom. Alright, jumping into Acts chapter 7, continuation from Acts chapter 6, dealing with Stephen, okay, and his problem with this, I guess you can call it council. Because it does say council at the end of the last chapter, which the council is talking about the Sanhedrin being Pharisees as well as Sadducees, a mixed number, of them to make up this council of, 70 men and a high priest over them, making 71 men. Okay, so we're here, and we're not going to read all of this chapter because, as we mentioned, there's a lot going on in this chapter. And Stephen was given this, very, very elaborate speech. And as usual with, these men of the New Testament time period, they were very heavily pulling from the Old Testament, things that were written aforetime by other prophets. So Acts chapter 7 verse 1 says, "Then said the high priest, are these things so?" All right. Going to the, just talking about the whole, charges and things. Because in the last chapter, let me jump over there. At the end of that last chapter, we'll at least get that. Let's start at verse 9. Acts 6 and 9. It says, "Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of them of Cilicia, and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Then they suborned men, which said, We have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against the Most High." And this is what I mentioned the last time we went into Acts chapter 6. This is no different than what happened to Yahushua. They just brought liars up against him, all right, constantly. Or actually, eventually, they brought liars up against him, okay, to be false witnesses. Verse 12 says, "And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council." Okay, so they basically found out where he was. All right, so this man's saying what? All right, let's go check him out, go pick him up. It says, "And set up false witnesses, which said," set up false witnesses, which said, "This man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law." And we went to that very heavily last time. I believe it was in a plus lesson, if I'm correct, because I don't think we went into it in the actual chapter. All right, because there was a lot to go into because we were speaking about pretty much what they were bringing up against him as far as the teachings. So it says, "For we have heard him say that this Yahushua of Nazareth shall destroy this place, the place being the temple, and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us." All right, which is going into the change of the priesthood being through the Levites, and and so on and so forth. Basically all the prophecies, they were just as wicked as Esau. Okay, that's basically what these wicked individuals were trying to do: upset prophecy, basically have Yahushua not fulfill what was written about him. But everything happened exactly how it was supposed to happen, going down to when they came to council together. Who was it? Was it not Nicodemus? I forget his name. But the one guy that said it is expedient that he should die for this nation. All right, because they only cared about the Romans taking away their place. That was all for fulfillment of prophecy. So even though they thought they were doing, a justice, a wicked justice it was, but what they were doing was no more than a fulfilling prophecy, man. They were doing what they were supposed to do in order for prophecy to roll out, okay? And Yahushua gave a speech, in his times of teaching, where he told them that tear down this temple and I rebuild it in 3 days. And he was talking about the temple of his body because he was persecuted, crucified, and rose, from the dead, resurrected from the dead by the Heavenly Father. But they, being carnal, thought he was talking about the physical temple, which took 46 physical years to build, and he was going to build it up in 3 physical days, and that's not what he was talking about. So this is the case here. It says, "For we have heard him say that this Yahushua of Nazareth shall destroy this place, and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us. And all that sat in the council, looking steadfastly on him, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel." And the scriptures tell us that wisdom maketh the man face to shine. Okay, showing you that Stephen was in the right spirit, man. He was not in the wrong, obviously not. So going to Acts chapter 7, verse 1, it says, Then said the high priest, Are these things so? All right, questioning him about the accusations brought up, mainly the one that we just read there at the end of book 6. I'm sorry, chapter 6. So it says, and he said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The power of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Sharan. All right. So he's already jumping straight into history. All right. This chapter is jumping right straight into history. It says, And said unto him, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall shew thee. Okay. And we can go and get all of that. All right. Genesis chapter 13. Genesis 13 and 14, it says, And Yahweh said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Okay, here's another one. And we find it. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 6 says, Thou, even thou, art Yahweh alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth, and all things that are therein. And what he's talking about, is what we spoke about the other day. Like, the three heavens, the heaven above us, the second heaven, which is outer space, and the third heaven, which is the heavenly realm. All right. So it says, which only two is mentioned there, but you get my point. It says, In all things that are therein, the seas and all that is therein, and thou preservest them all, and the host of heaven worshipeth thee. Yeah, like the scriptures say, when the morning stars sang together, and the sons of the Most High shouted for joy. Right? That's the scripture. Okay? It says, And all the hosts of heaven worship thee. It says, verse 7 says, Thou art Yahweh, the power, who didst choose Abram, and broughtest him forth out of Ur of the Chaldees, and gavest him the name of Abraham. And verse 8 says, And foundedst his heart faithful, all right, before thee, and madest a covenant with him to give the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, to give it, I say, to his seed, and has performed thy words, for thou art righteous. And when it says his seed, all right, we know it's talking about the seed of the covenant, all right, which went down to Isaac, and from Isaac to Jacob, not Esau, not Ishmael, okay? And it says the same thing in Galatians, all right, when it talks about, when it talks about a seed, not as many, but as of one seed, okay? So, going back to, actually, let me grab this, Hebrews 11, right? Because it's the same thing here, right? Hebrews 11 and 8. It says, by faith, and we actually have that precept that's written right there, or at least we can read it. But it says, I'm talking about Genesis 15 on the screen. It says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs, you see, with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. You see, the seed of the covenant. From Abraham, not to Ishmael, but to Isaac. From Isaac, not to Esau, but to Jacob. From Jacob, say less, because there's nothing else to talk about. He had 12 sons. Those 12 sons birthed today what we know known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the true biblical Hebrew Israelites of the 12 tribes of Israel. That is those people. See? So these promises and the covenant made were with those particular people back then who are still here today, known under these false names, mainly so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And we are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. It says, uh, uh, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. You see, heirs meaning what? It's promised. Let's get the word heirs. I'm not sure if we can get it all there. We probably get the point there. You see, a fellow heir joint, one who obtains something assigned to himself with others, a joint participant. You see, as we always talk about, a father who's a king and he has a son. By default, the rights to the kingdom go down to that son, man. Excuse me. That's what it's talking about, being heirs. The covenant, the promise, the rights to the kingdom of heaven, immortality, all these things, that's meant to go to a certain particular seed of people. And it will only, okay, beginning with the 1/3 hopefully elect remnant. It says, the heirs with him of the same promise, for he looked for a city which had foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High. Right? As we mentioned at Genesis 15, after these things, the word of Yahweh came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord Yahweh, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. All right, and that was his servant, okay? And so he was thinking that his servant was going to be his heir, but no. Check this out. He says, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought forth abroad, and this is not Ishmael, okay? We know Ishmael came forth out of his own bowels, but this was not talking about Ishmael or any other. It's talking about one particular baby, all right? One particular child, and that was Isaac, okay? So it says, and said, Look now toward heaven. Look now toward heaven and tell the stars if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in Yahweh. And he believed, you see, by faith. So we just read the Hebrews. By faith, he believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. See? So that's that dealing with Abraham. And you got another verse here as it jumps down. Actually, that's chapter 21, Genesis 21. Going to, same account there. But just making the point though, seeing how the history was pulled and used, all right, in this case here. So as we go back to Acts chapter 7, verse 3, and said unto him, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall shew thee. Verse 4 says, Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Charan, and from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land wherein ye now dwell. And we know his father was an idol worshiper. Let me see if I can see what this land is here. But the Lord dealt with Abraham, not his father. They placed in Mesopotamia, Haran meaning a mountain near. That is what? Haran in Hebrew, if I'm correct. Where is it at? Yeah, Haran. So it says a city in Mesopotamia of great antiquity and made famous by the defeat of Crassus. But it's not helping us. It's okay. I just want to see exactly where it was on the map, possibly. On a world map, if we could. Let's see, a municipality in Turkey. Okay, a municipality in Turkey. Let's see what this says here. Actually has two things. Biblical city. Sharon was a city in northern Mesopotamia on the Balik River, a branch of the Euphrates. It was located at the intersection of two trade routes. Abram's father, Terah, as we just mentioned, who was an idol worshiper, and his family immigrated to Sharon, and Abram left after his father's death to go to Canaan. Municipality in Turkey. Sharon is a municipality and district in Sanluerfa province, Turkey. It's located about 40 kilometers southeast of Urfa and 20 kilometers from the Syrian border, crossing at Kakale. Attractions in Haran include Haran Historical Cupola houses, Haran Kalizi, and Maisons Traditionalis de Haran. All right, so actually, I probably should have pulled up images there. Maybe we could have saw something. As a matter of fact, let's do that. So that's what I really wanted there. I caught up in the reading. Oh, wow, really? The bird is the word. All right, so we're not going to get anything from there. Maybe a map down there somewhere. I don't really want to go through that heavy search there. So let's just go and take it back to, I don't know what happened to my screen. Let me see here. All right, there we go. Take it back to the blue. And keep going. So verse 5 says, and he gave him none inheritance in it. All right. Talking about moving to this land. It says his father was dead. It says he removed him into this land wherein ye now dwell, and he gave him none inheritance in it. No, not so much as to set his foot on it. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. And if you're familiar with the history there, you know that this was a long time afterwards, because Abraham eventually had the vision. I believe he was still Abram at the time when he had the vision of that particular seed that it's talking about, the seed of the covenant. We're going to be enslaved to the Egyptians for 400 years, right? That's in Genesis as well. Okay. And then afterwards we came out, because it goes to fall into the account of Joseph, and then it falls the account of Moses with the Israelites. We came out of Egypt, and then, all that history after that. And eventually Moses passes away. Joshua takes the helm. And then we acquire the lands under the campaigns that we fought under Joshua. So that was a long time afterwards, a very long time afterwards. More than 500 years, actually, okay? 500 years afterwards. So this came a long time afterwards, man. All right? But it was fulfilled. We took the lands of Canaan and renamed them after the 12 tribes of Israel, and parted the lands as it was recorded, how the Most High wanted the lands parted up. So it says, and he gave him none inheritance in it. No, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. Okay. And we could probably we just read that. Let me just read that. Yeah, we just read Genesis 15. So we didn't have to go there, because I was going to get that Genesis chapter 15. Okay. But we just read it. We just read it. So there you go. Same history there. So verse 6 says, as the Most High spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. All right. That is the history that we just mentioned. As a matter of fact, let's go over there anyways, because Genesis, the 15th chapter, is what we want. And we were going to read like 2 through 5, but we just read that. But we're going to jump down here and actually grab 12. It says, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety, that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. So if you had any doubts about who the seed of the covenant is, who are the individuals that dwelt in the land of Egypt as slaves for over 400 years? It was the Israelites, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You see? So there's no doubt, whether it be New Testament or Old Testament, who the Lord is dealing with. And he said unto him, Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve, which were the Egyptians, will I judge, which was very harshly through the plagues, and eventually he also destroyed Pharaoh and his army. And afterward shall they come out with great substance. Okay, so the Pharaoh and his army happened after we came out of Egypt, but the judgment of the Egyptians happened while we were still there in the land of Goshen, and the plagues that happened. And then eventually we spoiled the Egyptians and we got out of Dodge. You see? So there's no doubt who we're talking about here. Family affairs. Verse 15 says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, which Abraham did. Abraham did that. Okay, let's get this. Exodus chapter 12, as we jump over from that. All right, we just want two verses here, 40 and 41. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. The children of Israel, once again, telling you who it was dealing with. Not all the nations of the earth, man. Telling you who the seed of the covenant was. And it won't to all the nations. That ain't it, okay? To the children of Israel. 400 years, 430 years. It says, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day, it came to pass that all the host of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. So you see how he's digging into this history very heavily to state his case. Okay. Verse 7 says, continuing on with what was read there, and the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, which were the Egyptians, said the Most High. And after that shall they come forth, after the plagues shall they come forth, okay, and serve me in this place. You see? You see the history there? It says, and he gave him the covenant of circumcision, and so Abraham, which I believe that's in Genesis the 17th chapter. We'll probably grab it. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him in the 8th day, which is still a custom carried today, man, by not only the Israelites, different nations, all right, where people are still circumcising their children. But the circumcision matters the most with the Israelites because that is a thing that is part of a covenant, all right, with the Lord. So we have to circumcise our male child. It says, and it's also healthy as well. It says, and circumcise him the 8th, in him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs, which are who? Jacob's 12 sons, the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel, the men that the 12 tribes are named after, his 12 sons. Okay. It says, and the patriarchs moved with envy. Actually, I forgot, because it said, because we forgot, I mentioned the covenant of circumcision, right? So, let me see here. Oh, I was wondering what's going on. The fire alarm was pulled in the building. Yes, there was about that. There was people just crowding around, just stopping. Okay, it's aggravating. Anyways, let me just continue the lesson. Yeah, Genesis 17. All right, and 9 it says, and the Most High said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations, right? So you see what's going on here? It says, this is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. You see? That is a must with Israelites. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. Once again, a must with the Israelites. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money. I don't like this people standing around my car and stuff, man. Okay, yeah, go back in. Thank you. The Wadi House Shah. So it says, he that is born in the house or brought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed, he that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. All right. So once again, circumcision is a universal thing, but it is a must. It is a covenant when it comes with the Israelites. All right. There's no getting out of that. All right. It's a must do thing when he's dealing with the Israelites. Okay. So I just wanted to read that real quick. So as we go back to Acts chapter 7, All right, it says, verse 9 says, and the patriarchs moved with envy. So Joseph, all right, talking about the brothers now, the 11 brothers, right? Because when you go into that history, um, it says, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Most High was with them. All right. Yahweh, one of my favorite ancestors, Yahweh, as I mentioned thousands of times. All right. Okay. Actually, well, yeah, we're good with that. Just want to get a few here. So Genesis 37:4 says, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. All right. Basically, talking about bowing to him. And his brethren, same thing as the other dream, right? It says, and his brethren, because I believe he had another dream. Excuse me, but it says, and his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, yep, here it is. Behold, I have dreamed. So that was the first one. Yeah, I was correct. Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And we actually pull out this precept often. Genesis 37:9, dealing with the stars, to bring that out as a point. So that is dealing with those 12 sons. But anyway, it says, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon, which the sun will representing his father, the moon his mother, and the 11 stars representing his 11 brothers, made obeisance to me. All right, because we know that Joseph and Benjamin were had the same mother. All right, but Benjamin was also one of the 11. He was the youngest. He was the baby of the bunch. All right, and Joseph was next to that, and then the other brothers. Okay. So yeah, we got that history there. Let me continue though. It says, and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is the dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. All right. So his father was like, what the heck is up with this? But eventually he started to ponder about it. Like, maybe there's something here. Let's jump down to verse 18. All right. Major history probably ended around here, after Joseph. Okay. And pick back up in another session whenever the Lord will, because there's more continuing to talk about Joseph. But, there's a lot here. But we're going to read this history here. This is what he was pulling. It says Genesis 37:18, the plot against Yahweh. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him in some pit. And we will say, some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. All right, I want to look at what comes up for dreamer. Dream, ordinary, dream with prophetic meaning. Yep, spot on right there. See what the other one says. I know there was another word, but we got what we don't need that. Okay. So continuing on, just want to hit that real quick. So it says, come now therefore and let us slay him and cast him into some pit, and we will say, some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard of it, the firstborn Reuben. All right. It says, and he delivered him out, which are one of the so-called Native American tribes. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Yahweh was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Yahweh out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, and our flesh, and his brethren were content. And this goes back into the point that I made before in one of my other lessons, that some of those laws that were given to us after we came out of Egypt didn't exactly have to do exactly with Egypt. There were accounts that happened before, for those times, right, where they were all brought together. The law to fully solidify the actions of what the Israelites should be like. Okay, and this is one of those things. Talking about killing, your brother and this, that, and the third. Not saying that that's what they did, but I'm just making a point with that. Okay. But anyways, it says, then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. Okay, it says, and Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit. All right, check this out. What happened now? Then there passed by Midianite merchantmen, and they drew and lifted Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. See? So this was a chain reaction of events centered around the life of Joseph. And Reuben returned into the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, the child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed the kid of the goats, because remember, they stripped him of it, right? This is all prophecy being fulfilled. All right, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, this have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, it is my son's coat. An evil beast had devoured him. Yahweh is without doubt rent in pieces. And Yahweh rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. Okay. And we're going to stop right there because it gets off into other points of history. So as we go back to Acts chapter 7, all right, verse 9 says, and the patriarchs, being his 11 brothers, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Most High was with them. It says, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he made him governor over Egypt and all of his house. Okay, and we're going to stop right there. Probably pick back up in the second session whenever the Lord will, when the Spirit wills. Okay, because like I said, Acts chapter 7 is a lengthy chapter. It's 60 scriptures here, and there's a lot of history that's drawn from that. So this will be multiple sessions here, but I want to try to keep it short as possible, and dig into the history, with Stephen in his case before the council. So we'll leave it at that. Lord willing, you will edify to next time. Yashar, I'm going to say shalom.